Hey guys, welcome back to Inside the Storm. I'm your host Zane, and today we're going to be recapping all the action from the Storm's Match Week 17 fixture against Deakin Ducks away from home, as well as previewing the upcoming Match Week 18 fixture against Doreen. Let's get straight into it. Match Week 17 saw the squad take on an extremely informed Deakin Ducks away from home in a very, very competitive, close game. Definitely the first half was a lot cagier for the Storm, and I think the Storm definitely struggled in the first 20 minutes, being hit really, really quickly with a 2-goal deficit in the first 10 minutes due to a couple unfortunate circumstances, and from there the Storm was chasing the game, and I think following that, the next 15-20 were more about stabilizing and stopping, the wave after wave of Deacon's fast transition attack. And after the Storm was capable of doing that, then they really started settling into the game, and you saw a lot more chances going both ways. But definitely a really, really competitive last 15 minutes of that first half. I think for those last 15 minutes, Storm was definitely on top, but the first 10, they were just hit by such a quick-fire attack straight out of the gate. And I think away from home, it's really easy to kind of not expect the team to go out full intensity and think that, you might be able to set the pace, but obviously away from home in an atmosphere where the home team is more comfortable, I think that can happen sometimes, definitely. And I think the Storm was slightly unaware or caught off guard from that kind of rapid start. And from there, I think closing off the first half with real positive momentum was a really, really big advantage for the team as a whole, moving into the second half. And I think that was really, really reflected at halftime. You heard both Nick and Khalid really emphasizing the fact that, the first 10 minutes were extremely poor, but after that, the team did settle quite well. And the last 15 were definitely strong, and you saw a lot of chances. One huge chance off a set piece, or off the second action of a set piece, where Ahmed had a brilliant header and arguably even a better save from the Deakin goalkeeper. So definitely there were a couple chances at the end of the first half to maybe nick something, but going in 2-0 down at halftime, definitely a hard place to come back from that deficit. But 2-0 is a dangerous lead, and I think the sentiment really felt like if Storm was able to get the next goal, then really a turnaround could be possible. And I think the football in the first half maybe deserved a more positive result, because the football was in certain points exceptional, and really, really positive. And you saw some really, really good attacking play and some brilliant stand-up performances, some great finishes. You saw Ahmed come in with 2 goals, and really, really just top quality goals, some big chances, really, really positive moments. A couple players playing out of position, having really, really good games. So overall, I think it was positive to go away from home against the top 4 side and definitely play them close, play them competitive. And, on another day, if it's not 2-0 in the first 10 minutes and there's a little bit more time to play and a little bit more positive of a start, then I think the Storm could have walked away with a much more positive result, because I definitely would think that the second half performance warranted a more positive result. And overall, they definitely played with the freedom in the second half that there already were 2 goals down and there wasn't much left to lose, and they could definitely come out and attack more. And you saw that, unfortunately, doing that means that you leave limited numbers at the back, and Deacon's able to go 3-0. The Storm immediately responds, going 3-1. And then, unfortunately, in the last couple phases of play, Deakin scores again, goes 4-1, then goes 4-2 from another brilliant finish from Ahmed. Then there's a huge chance off a volley again from Ahmed. And if that goes 4-3 with 10 minutes left, then maybe the Storm's able to get something. But overall, definitely extremely positive performance in how the Storm picked themselves up facing adversity, and how they definitely didn't give up. And in the second half, I think in certain portions, definitely outplaying Deakin. So some really big positives overall. And I think the sentiment is that that kind of football is good enough to definitely remain in the league. 5 games left, and looking onwards to the rest of the season, that level of football and that kind of heavy metal football that they did play in the second half, with the high press and heavy intensity and the quick transitions and positive attacking football, definitely is the type of football that'll keep the Storm in this league. and will be a pathway for success moving down the line.
Yeah, it was a difficult start for us. We started extremely poor, conceded 2 goals, I think, in the first 5 minutes. And maybe we're lucky that it wasn't a third. But after that, to be honest, after the first 30, we really settled in and we battled. And that's the kind of performance that we want to see from the start moving forward. We're going to continue working on what we do with the ball this coming week. So we're better equipped, and again from the start, from the first minute. And yeah, we're gonna have a tough game against Doreen, but we're gonna give it everything we have.
This week, the Storm takes on Doreen. Again, a huge game. Doreen's another really, really strong side. They've kind of dipped in form slightly in recent weeks and shown a little bit of inconsistency, but still a very, very good side. Playing them away from home was obviously the game. The Storm was reduced to 10, and it was a really, really competitive game. I think there was a missed penalty, but overall the Storm played a really, really good game away from home. But I think that's, not to take away from Doreen's quality, and that they've showed that, over the course of the entire season, they have been consistent in picking up results and, playing good football. And I think the Storm is aware of what this team can do, and how they can control the ball and how they can play, and the dangers they do have on in transition and especially on the wings. So definitely a really big opportunity for the Storm. 5 games left. It's just about getting points. I think 6 points would guarantee safety. Practically 9 points would almost 100% secure safety. And the quicker the Storm can get those wins and pick up those points, the safer they'll feel, and the better the season looks at the end. Ultimately, it hasn't been exactly the type of successful season the Storm would want, but if they're able to finish with momentum in these next 5 games, pick up 5 wins, 4 wins out of 5, go undefeated even, be really, really positive building blocks for next season. And I think that's the goal. No one wants to be in a relegation battle come the last 2 games, because that's where the pressure happens, and you can have games where you play extremely well and don't win, and then that can be your season. And I think on overall the quality of football the Storm has played this year, they definitely deserve to stay in this league and compete in this league next season, and build on this season and take it as a learning experience, and definitely go onwards next year and really challenge, or cement themselves as a top league, as a top team in the league. So definitely, potential, and it all starts. I think this is the hardest game left. Doreen's still a top 4, top 5 side. So winning here at home, playing them at home, having that advantage. The Storm in the second round robin hasn't played a top team at home. And so I think this would be a really, really big test for what they can do against the top side at home, knowing their ground, knowing that they'll have home advantage, they'll have fan support. Really, really big opportunity. And I think that's what's exciting the coaching staff and the players, that they can go out, have a really big rebound, because obviously it is 3 losses in a row, and you don't want to see a repeat of the first round robin where you go on a big loss streak, because at this point in the season that can be catastrophic. And so I think this is really the most important time. This feels like the most important game of the season, because it is where you turn around the narrative. And if the Storm were to lose, then 4 wins in a row and would leave a lot of pressure on the last 3-4 games. So definitely the reaction has to be go in, play front-footed, play aggressive, be positive, and play with that high intensity football that you saw in portions against Deakin, that you saw against Meadow Park, even in times that you saw against Kilo. I think it's just about consistency and playing that level of football for 90 minutes, and having the personnel to be able to play it. Obviously, this week there were quite a few injuries, which definitely don't help. But this week, fresh week, players come back, the squad comes back together, learning on the lessons of last week, that at this time in the season you can't start slow. And I think the expectation is that the Storm will go into this game full guns blazing from minute 1 and really get out the win. And if you ask for a score prediction, I definitely say that the Storm will take it. Maybe 2-0, 3-1, something like that. There's definitely a lot of confidence after the positive signs from Deakin. I think that was really echoed in the post-game talk, that second half was exactly the kind of football that the Storm wants to play, and the Storm can play, and the type of football that can genuinely beat any team in the league. So I think now, just taking a step back, looking at the table overall, understanding 5 games left, 2 points away from safety. It's just about getting wins, and getting a win like this against Doreen after being on a loss streak would be a huge momentum boost for every single player, for the coaching staff, knowing that we might really just end up this season not being in a relegation battle and really establishing ourselves as a mid-table team. And I think that's the goal, is get out of that relegation battle as soon as possible, because Lara looked to be going down, and really it's between Thornbury, us, Meadow Park, and Melbourne City for that last slot, and it's extremely close in points. I think currently the Storm sitting in 10th, with Thornbury sitting in 11th with a 2-point gap. But if you lose the rest of your games and Thornbury picks up a result, then the Storm ends up going down. It's really just about establishing safety, and I think 6 points would, at worst 4 points, but definitely 6 points would definitely establish safety, and something like 9 points would be fantastic, because that would really, really progress you up the table and let you sit in that 6th, 7th position. Even anywhere between 5th, honestly, 5th to 10th, the points are extremely close, and I think it really depends on the exact kind of form the Storm can show, because if they can show good form, get 5 wins out of 5, then you can, finish a difficult season sitting in 5th or 6th, and overall it would look like a more rewarding season than perhaps the results indicate, having so many losses. And I think that's the goal ultimately, is just climb up that table and finish as strongly as you can moving into next season, knowing that you'll have a better understanding of the league and the teams and what it takes to win. And definitely that'll be part of the recruitment process for next season and the preseason process for next season, for the coaches to know exactly the level and caliber of the league and difficulty of the league. But overall, yeah, huge game this weekend against Doreen. If you guys can come down to the reserve, it'd be helpful as anything to have your support. It would be extremely great. If you guys can volunteer on Sundays for the juniors, with the season closing out soon. I think we've got 5 games left for juniors as well. So everything's coming towards the run-in now. So if you can come down to the ground on Saturday, Sunday, help out, just come show your support, be loud, bring energy, that's more than appreciated, especially for seniors. I think that is a huge thing in having a crowd there and making the team feel supported. So definitely, if you guys can make it, come down. 1 p.m. Kickoff for reserves, 3 p.m. for senior kickoff, always at the AW Bond Reserve. The games will be live streamed as well, and there'll be highlights the next day. So if you can check it out, please show your support for the senior team. Also for juniors, always, stuff's going on around the junior program. So if you can come down, show your support on the Sundays, volunteer in the canteen, or to be a marshal, that stuff's always super appreciated from the club. Anyways, I've been your host, saying thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.